Hello, we're excited to show you our native speech capabilities. Welcome back to the English Journey. Today, we are talking about the world inside of us, our feelings. I'm Anna.
And I'm Abel. For a long time, I thought I only had two feelings, happy or tired. Today we will give you the English words to describe everything you feel.
That is such a perfect way to start, Abel, because I think many of our listeners feel the same way. When someone asks you, "How are you?" in English, what do you usually say?
I say, I'm fine, thank you, every single time, even if I am not fine at all.
Yes, and that is so common. It is not your fault. It is just that nobody taught us the other words. When we are learning a second language, we learn the basics first. We learn happy, we learn sad, we learn good and bad. But our feelings are so much more than just good or bad.
Exactly. And for a long time, I thought expressing feelings was something personal, something private. I thought, why would I talk about my feelings, especially in another language? It felt very difficult, very uncomfortable.
And that is completely understandable. Talking about feelings is hard in our first language, so of course it feels even harder in a second language like English. But here's something very important that I want you to hear today. Talking about your feelings is not a sign of weakness. It is actually a sign of great strength.
I had to learn that slowly. I grew up thinking that strong people do not talk about how they feel. Strong people just keep going. They push through. They do not stop to say, I am struggling right now.
But when you keep everything inside, it can become very heavy. Think about carrying a backpack full of heavy books every day. If you never take the books out, the backpack gets heavier and heavier. Your shoulders start to hurt, your back starts to hurt. Your whole body feels the pressure. Feelings work the same way.
That is such a good image. And when I started learning to express my feelings in English, something interesting happened. Not only did my English improve, but I also started to feel better inside, like I was finally putting the books down.
That is exactly what happens, and there's research that supports this. When people name their emotions, when they find the right word for what they feel, the brain actually calms down. Scientists call this affect labeling, but we can just call it what it is. Finding the right words helps you feel better.
So today's lesson is good for your English and good for your mental health at the same time. I love that.
Exactly. So let us start our journey. We are going to go beyond good and bad today. We're going to give your emotional language some color, some detail, some texture.
I like the idea of color. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Of course, imagine you're a painter. If you only have two colors, black and white, you can make a picture, but it will be very simple, very limited. Now imagine you have a full set of paints, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, every shade in between. Suddenly, your painting becomes rich and detailed and beautiful.
And that is what emotional vocabulary does for our language.
Precisely. Let us take a simple word. Let us take the word tired. Almost everyone knows the word tired, but tired is a very general word. It doesn't tell us much. It doesn't tell us why you are tired or how tired you are.
Right. There's a big difference between feeling a little tired after a good long walk and feeling so tired that you can't even lift your head.
Exactly. So let us look at some more specific words. If you are extremely tired, completely without energy, we say you feel exhausted. Say that with me. Exhausted.
Exhausted. I feel exhausted.
Good. Now think about this situation. You studied all night for an exam. You did not sleep. You woke up early. You went to school. You came home. You cooked dinner. Now it's 9 o'clock at night and you have to study again. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel exhausted just thinking about that situation.
Yes, exhausted means deeply and completely tired. Your mind is tired. Your body is tired. You have nothing left to give. That's exhausted.
I've definitely felt exhausted before, especially during exam season or when a big project is due and I've been working on it for days in a row.
Now let's think about another type of tired. Have you ever felt tired but not in your body? Tired in your heart? Tired of a situation?
Oh, yes, that's a different kind of tired completely.
That feeling is called drained, or sometimes we say emotionally drained. It means your emotional energy is empty. It happens when you've had a lot of difficult conversations or you've been dealing with a stressful situation for a long time. You feel like your battery is completely empty.
I felt drained after a very difficult week at work once. Everything went wrong. There were problems with my projects, my boss was not happy, my colleagues were stressed. By Friday, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted to sit quietly and breathe.
That is the perfect description of feeling drained. And notice what Abel did just now. He described the situation and then described the feeling. That's exactly what we want you to practice. Let us now talk about something very interesting. Let us talk about how feelings live in our bodies.
Oh, this is one of my favorite topics, because I used to think feelings were only in my head, like they were just thoughts, but actually feelings are very physical. They live in your body.
They absolutely do, and English has some wonderful expressions for this. When you feel nervous or excited before something important, like an exam or a first date or a job interview, you might feel something moving around in your stomach, a strange fluttering sensation. In English, we say you have butterflies in your stomach.
Butterflies in my stomach. I love that expression. It sounds so beautiful, like there are little butterflies flying around inside you.
And it's not a painful feeling, it's more of an uncomfortable but sometimes exciting feeling, a mix of nervousness and anticipation. Anticipation means you're waiting for something and you know it's coming soon.
I felt butterflies in my stomach the first time I spoke English in front of a group of people. My heart was beating fast, my hands were a little cold, and my stomach felt like it was doing little flips.
That is such a vivid description, and what you're doing is called describing the physical sensation of your emotion. This is very powerful in English. Instead of just saying, I was nervous, you say, my heart was beating fast and I had butterflies in my stomach. Now the listener can almost feel what you felt.
And it makes the conversation so much more real and human.
Exactly. Let us look at some more physical descriptions of feelings. When you feel very sad or very worried, you might feel a heaviness in your chest, like something heavy is sitting on top of your heart. We say, I have a heavy chest, or my chest feels tight.
I know that feeling. It's like you want to take a deep breath, but the breath doesn't go all the way in.
Yes, and when you feel surprised or shocked by something, you might say, my jaw dropped, meaning your mouth opened wide in surprise, or my heart skipped a beat. That one is used for surprise, but also for seeing someone you love, a moment that takes your breath away.
My heart skipped a beat. That sounds so romantic.
It does, and it's also very useful in everyday English. When I saw my exam result, my heart skipped a beat. That could be a good heart skip or a scared heart skip, depending on the result.
Very true. Now let's talk about something that many of our listeners probably feel very often. Let's talk about frustration.
Yes, frustration is such an important feeling to be able to express because it comes up every day, at school, at work, at home, in traffic, everywhere.
And the problem is when people feel frustrated and they don't have the right words, they sometimes either say nothing or they say something too strong, something rude or angry, and that can cause problems.
That is so true. So let's build some language for frustration. First, let's be clear about what frustration is. Frustration is the feeling you get when something is not going the way you want, when things are difficult, when you try and it's not working, when you feel blocked or stuck.
For example, imagine you're studying a grammar rule. You read it once, you read it again, you try to do the exercises, and you keep getting the wrong answer. You don't understand why. How do you feel?
Frustrated, completely frustrated.
And instead of throwing the book across the room, we want to be able to say calmly, I feel frustrated because I don't understand this rule.
Beautiful. That's the formula. I feel frustrated because, and that sentence is honest, it's calm, it's not rude, it communicates exactly what is happening for you.
Let me practice that. I feel frustrated because my teacher explained this very quickly and I didn't have time to write down everything.
Perfect. Now the teacher understands. Now a conversation is possible. Now a solution is possible. But if you say nothing, the frustration just stays inside and grows bigger.
And eventually, it might come out in a way you didn't plan.
Exactly. There's another great word connected to frustration. The word is irritated. If you feel irritated, it means something is bothering you. It's a smaller, lighter version of frustrated or angry, like a small itch that you can't scratch.
Irritated, like when someone taps their pen on the desk in a quiet room, over and over. Tap, tap, tap. You are not angry, you do not want to fight, but you feel that small annoyance, that irritation.
Yes, and you could say, I feel a little irritated because there is a lot of noise and I am trying to concentrate. That is honest, that is clear, that is respectful.
Now, I want to talk about something that I think is very beautiful. Let us talk about gratitude, the feeling of being grateful and thankful.
Oh, I love this part because gratitude is one of the most powerful feelings. And when we express it in English, specifically and clearly, it does something wonderful.
What does it do?
It deepens your connection with the person you are speaking to. It also trains your brain to notice the good things around you. And both of these things help you learn English faster and feel better emotionally.
So how do we express gratitude in a specific way? Because I think many people just say thank you and stop there.
And thank you is wonderful, but we can go so much further. Instead of just saying thank you, try to say what specifically you are thankful for and why it matters to you. For example, instead of saying thank you for your help, you could say, I am so grateful for your help because I was really struggling and you made me feel less alone.
That is so much more meaningful. The other person really feels it when you say something like that.
Exactly. And there is a beautiful word we use when we appreciate something deeply. That word is appreciative. I feel appreciative when someone takes the time to explain something to me clearly.
I feel appreciative when our listeners send us messages saying that they learned something new from our podcast and really makes the work feel worthwhile.
That is so sweet, Abel. And let's look at another beautiful gratitude word. Content. C-O-N-T-E-N-T. Content means peacefully happy. Not excited, not jumping up and down, but a quiet, warm, satisfied happiness.
Content. It sounds like a very peaceful word.
It is. Think about a quiet Sunday morning. You're sitting with a warm cup of tea, the sun is coming through the window, you have no plans, no stress, everything is calm. How do you feel?
Content. Perfectly content.
Yes, I feel content when I have time to rest and there is nowhere I need to be. It's that gentle, steady happiness, like everything is exactly as it should be.
I think content is one of my new favorite words. I want to feel content more often.
And the more we notice and name those moments of contentment, the more we experience them. It's like your brain learns to look for them.
That is a beautiful idea. Now, let me bring up something that I know is very real for many of our listeners. Let us talk about stress, and specifically, the feeling of being overwhelmed.
Yes, this is so important, especially for students. Let's be honest about this. School can be very stressful, especially when you have many exams coming up, or a big project that is due very soon, or many subjects to study at the same time. And then you also have your family, your social life, your hobbies, and suddenly everything feels like too much.
That is exactly what overwhelmed means. Too much of everything at once. Like you're standing in the sea and the waves keep coming one after another, and you can't keep your head above the water.
That is a perfect description. Overwhelmed, it means you feel like the situation is bigger than you, like there are too many things to manage at one time. Your brain feels full, your to-do list feels endless, and you don't know where to start.
I felt overwhelmed last year when I had 3 major deadlines in the same week. I remember sitting at my desk and just staring at my notebook. I couldn't even begin because starting felt impossible.
And that paralysis, that inability to start, is actually a very common symptom of feeling overwhelmed. The brain gets so full of tasks and worries that it freezes.
So what do we do? What do we say when we feel this way?
First, we name it. We say it out loud or we write it down. I feel overwhelmed right now. There are too many things to do and I don't know where to start. Just naming it can take away some of its power.
And then maybe you can talk to someone, a friend, a teacher, a family member, and you can use the language we are giving you today to explain exactly how you feel.
Yes, you could say, I feel overwhelmed because I have exams in 3 subjects next week, and I haven't had enough time to prepare. I feel anxious about the results.
Anxious. Let's talk about that word too, because anxious and stressed are sometimes confused.
Great point. Anxious is a word that means you are worried about something that might happen in the future. You're not sure what will happen, and that uncertainty makes you nervous, makes your mind race, makes it hard to sleep.
Like before a big exam, you don't know exactly what questions will be on the paper. You don't know if you have studied enough, and that unknown, that uncertainty makes you feel anxious.
Exactly. I feel anxious about my exam because I am not sure if I have studied the right things. That's a clear, honest sentence, and it helps the person listening to you understand exactly what support you need.
And sometimes just saying it makes you feel a little better because it's no longer just floating around in your head like a cloud of worry. You've put it into words, you've made it real and specific.
And when something is real and specific, you can do something about it. A floating cloud of worry is very hard to manage, but a specific sentence is much easier to work with.
Now, I want to make sure our listeners have a very clear tool to take away from today. Let us talk about the I feel formula. This is a simple grammar structure that can change the way you communicate in English.
I love this. Let's lay it out clearly. The structure is I feel plus an emotion word plus the word because plus the reason. So it looks like this. I feel blank because blank. Simple and powerful.
Let me give some examples so our listeners can hear it in action. I feel grateful because my teacher spent extra time helping me understand the lesson.
Beautiful. Another one. I feel anxious because my presentation is tomorrow and I am not completely ready.
I feel content because I finished all my work today and now I can relax.
I feel frustrated because I have tried to understand this topic many times, but I still feel confused.
I feel overwhelmed because I have so many responsibilities right now and I do not have enough time.
I feel exhausted because I have been working very hard for many weeks without a break.
I feel excited because something good is happening tomorrow and I have been looking forward to it.
These sentences are simple, they are clear, they are respectful, and they communicate so much more than just saying, I am fine or I am not fine.
And notice something important. Every sentence starts with I. Not you make me feel, not this is your fault, just I feel. This is important because it keeps the communication gentle and honest. It is about your experience, not about blaming someone else.
That is a very wise observation, Abel. In communication, especially emotional communication, starting with I keeps things calm. It helps the other person listen without feeling attacked. It opens a conversation instead of closing one.
And that is true in any language. But when you are speaking English, having this simple formula gives you a starting point, especially when you're nervous or upset and your English words feel harder to find.
Exactly. Think of the I feel formula as a bridge between what's inside you and the world outside, between what you experience and what others can understand.
I want to go back to something we said earlier about the emotion wheel, because I think it helps to have a visual picture in your mind.
Yes, let us think about the emotion wheel together. In the very center of the wheel, you have the most basic emotions, the ones almost everyone knows: happy, sad, angry, scared, surprised, disgusted.
And those basic emotions are real and valid, but they're just the beginning. They're like the center of a flower, and then the petals of the flower spread out, and on those petals are more specific, more nuanced emotions.
For example, from happy, we get words like grateful, content, excited, joyful, proud, and appreciative.
From sad, we get lonely, disappointed, heartbroken, melancholy, and hopeless.
From angry, we get frustrated, irritated, resentful, and furious.
From scared, we get anxious, nervous, overwhelmed, and insecure.
When you look at the full wheel, you realize that human beings are incredibly complex. We do not just feel one thing at a time. Sometimes we feel two or three things all at once, and that's completely normal.
For example, have you ever felt excited and scared at the same time, like before a big performance or a competition?
Absolutely. That combination of excitement and nervousness even has a name. Some people call it being nervicitied, but more formally, we can say, I feel excited but also a little scared because this matters a lot to me.
That is such a real feeling, and being able to name it in English is a wonderful achievement. It means your emotional language is growing richer.
And we want to encourage every single one of our listeners to keep building that richness. Keep adding words to your emotional vocabulary the same way you would add books to your library, one at a time, slowly, with patience.
Because learning emotional vocabulary is not just for exams, it's not just for essays, it's for your real life, for your conversations, for your relationships, for your well-being.
And I want to say something very directly to our younger listeners, to the students who are preparing for exams, who are managing pressure and expectations, who sometimes feel like their feelings are too big or too complicated.
Please hear this.
Your feelings are valid, every single one of them. The frustration when something is difficult, the anxiety before a test, the exhaustion at the end of a hard week, the loneliness when you feel like no one understands, all of it is valid. All of it is real.
And you deserve to have the language to express those feelings, not just to your teacher or your parents or your friends, but to yourself as well.
Writing in a journal in English is one of my favorite ways to practice this. Just sit down at the end of the day with a notebook and write 3 sentences. Today I felt, and use a new emotion word. Then I felt this because, and give the reason. And then tomorrow I hope to feel, and write a word that represents how you want to feel.
That is such a simple and beautiful practice. Just 3 sentences, but over weeks and months, you will see how much your emotional vocabulary grows and how much better you feel inside, too.
Because you're honoring your experience. You're saying to yourself, my feelings matter enough to be put into words.
I started doing something similar about a year ago, and it genuinely changed things for me. I used to feel like my emotions were a big, confusing mess, like a drawer full of tangled cables. But slowly, as I gave names to things, the drawer started to organize itself.
What a wonderful image, the tangled cables drawer. I think many people will recognize that feeling.
And naming things, finding the right word, pulling out one cable at a time and saying, this is frustration, this is loneliness, this is anxiety. Suddenly, the drawer is not so scary anymore. You can start to manage it.
And that is really the heart of everything we are saying today. Language gives us power over our inner world. The more words we have for our feelings, the more we can understand ourselves. And the more we understand ourselves, the more we can communicate with others. And the more we communicate with others, the more connected we feel. And the more connected we feel, the less lonely and afraid we become.
It is all connected. Language and emotion and well-being and connection, they are all part of the same beautiful system.
As we come toward the end of today's episode, I want us to quickly review the wonderful vocabulary we have explored together. Ready?
Ready.
Exhausted, deeply and completely tired in body and mind.
Drained, emotionally empty, like your battery has no charge left.
Butterflies in my stomach, a nervous, fluttery feeling before something important.
A heavy chest, a physical feeling of sadness or worry in your heart area.
Frustrated, the feeling when things are not going the way you want.
Irritated, a smaller, lighter feeling of annoyance.
Content, a peaceful, quiet, gentle happiness.
Grateful, feeling thankful and appreciating what you have.
Overwhelmed, when everything feels like too much at the same time.
Anxious, worried about something uncertain in the future.
And the beautiful, powerful formula, I feel, plus emotion, plus because, plus reason.
These words are yours now. Use them, practice them, write them down, say them out loud, teach them to a friend.
And remember, Every time you find a new word for a feeling, you are not just learning English, you are learning yourself. You are becoming a more self-aware, more empathetic, more expressive human being.
And honestly, that is one of the most valuable things education can give us. Not just facts and formulas, but the ability to understand our inner world and share it with the people around us.
To everyone listening today, whether you are studying in a classroom, commuting on a bus, doing chores at home, or lying in bed at night, feeling a whole mix of complicated feelings, we see you, we appreciate you, and we are so glad you are here on this English journey with us.
You were doing something brave and important. You were learning to express yourself in a new language. That takes courage, that takes patience, and it takes a willingness to be honest about who you are and how you feel.
So be gentle with yourself. Take it one word at a time, one sentence at a time, one day at a time, and know that every step forward, no matter how small, is something to be genuinely proud of.
I feel proud of everyone listening to this episode today because you showed up. You gave your time and attention to something that will make your life richer and your English stronger.
And we feel grateful. Grateful to have this platform. Grateful for every message, every comment, every kind word you send us. It genuinely means the world.
If you want to practice today's vocabulary, try writing 3 sentences in the comments section. Start with, "Today I felt," and use one of the words from today's episode. We would love to read them and respond.
And if you have a friend who is learning English or who is going through a difficult time and needs more words for their feelings, please share this episode with them, because sometimes the greatest gift we can give someone is a new word that finally names what they have been carrying inside.
That is so beautifully said, Anna.
Thank you, Abel. And thank you to each and every one of you for being here, for being open, for being willing to go beyond good and bad and explore the rich, colorful, beautiful world of human emotion in English.
Until next time, keep speaking, keep feeling, and keep growing.
Take good care of yourselves. We will see you on the next episode of The English Journey. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, everyone. And remember, you are never alone in your feelings. And now, you have the words to prove it.